The NFL draft has been a staple in the league for over 90 years since 1936, and when a team has the number one overall pick, everyone is expecting to get that one best player out of college that can truly turn a franchise around from being irrelevant to an eventual Super Bowl title. Even though every franchise has their ups and downs, only 3 NFL teams have never had a number one overall pick: the Baltimore Ravens, Denver Broncos, and Seattle Seahawks. But for everyone else, here's every team's last first overall pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars took edge rusher Travon Walker out of Georgia in the 2022 draft. With his rookie debut still months away, he's yet to play it down, but hopefully he gives the Jaguars defense the help it needs to continue to get better and better. Joe Burrow was the Cincinnati Bengals' last first overall pick from LSU out of the 2020 draft. After having one of the greatest seasons in college football history, Burrow showed some promise early on before his rookie season was cut short due to a brutal ACL tear. How does he respond? By helping the Bengals do the unthinkable. Burrow led the Bengals to their first playoff win in over 30 years and the first Super Bowl appearance since 1988 to win Comeback Player of the Year. Let's see how he responds in 2022 following the Super Bowl loss. The Arizona Cardinals' last number one pick was Kyler Murray. A Heisman winner out of Oklahoma, Murray opened his NFL career by winning Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2019. He followed it up with back-to-back Pro Bowl selections while eventually leading the Cardinals to their first playoff appearance since 2015. Still not even 25 years old entering year 4, Murray has a long career ahead of him. Baker Mayfield was the Browns' last number one pick back in 2018. Another Heisman winner from Oklahoma, Mayfield instantly gave the city of Cleveland the spark they needed as a rookie. By year 3, he'd lead them to their first playoff appearance since 2002. After having a down year while playing with an injured shoulder, the Browns decided to burn the bridges by trading for Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played a down of football since 2020 and is facing numerous lawsuits. So unfortunately, I have no idea what the next step will be for Baker Mayfield in the NFL. Jared Goff was the Rams' last first overall pick out of California in 2016. After getting off to a very rough start, Goff took the leap forward in becoming a Pro Bowler and leading the Rams to the playoffs and eventually a Super Bowl. Following that, a significant drop in play caused the Rams to move on by trading him to Detroit, where he should look to improve in his second year there. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers took Jameis Winston as their number one pick out of Florida State in 2015. Despite having a Pro Bowl selection, Winston was never able to reach the playoffs in Tampa Bay and was often known for being a turnover machine. His 2019 season, for example, is where he led the league in passing yards while having over 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. With Tom Brady eventually taking over, Winston found himself as the backup to Drew Brees before taking over as starter in 2021. Coming back from an ACL tear, Winston looks to have a much better year in 2022. The Houston Texans' last first overall pick was Jadeveon Clowney in 2014. A 2-time All-American in South Carolina, Clowney went to 3 straight Pro Bowls in 5 seasons with the Texans, playing alongside J.J. Watt. He's since then bounced around to the Seahawks, Titans, and now the Browns, where he had 9 sacks in 2021. Offensive tackle Eric Fisher was the last number one pick by the Kansas City Chiefs from Central Michigan in 2013. He'd spent 8 seasons there, making 2 Pro Bowls and eventually winning a Super Bowl with them in 2019. Fisher later played a season with the Colts last year before becoming a free agent. Andrew Luck was the Indianapolis Colts' last number one pick back in 2012 out of Stanford. Replacing Peyton Manning, Luck found success early on by going to 3 straight Pro Bowls and also leading the Colts back to the playoffs. Following that, he struggled a lot with injuries that would derail his career entirely. Even after winning Comeback Player of the Year at age 29, Luck decided to retire due to all of the injuries and overall beating that he took on the field. The Carolina Panthers' last number one pick was Cam Newton out of Auburn in 2011. A Heisman Trophy winner after doing stints at Florida and later blending in JUCO, Newton was such an exciting player to watch. Newton is the all-time leader in rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. He was also the first rookie quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Cam was later a 2015 MVP, where he led the Panthers to a Super Bowl, but from then on, his career just went downhill. Struggles with injuries caused Carolina to move on from him, and Cam found a new home in New England for just a season. He'd later go back to the Panthers in the 2021 season, but he once again struggled before becoming a free agent. The Detroit Lions' last number one pick was Matthew Stafford in 2009 out of Georgia. Joining a Lions team that went 0-16 beforehand, Stafford led them to 3 playoff appearances while also being the fastest to reach 40,000 yards. With the team reaching a dead end, Stafford was traded to the Los Angeles Rams, where in his first season there, he would lead them to a Super Bowl win over the Bengals. And with a contract extension and an even better team, the Rams have the ability to win it all again in 2022. Jake Long was the Miami Dolphins' last #1 overall pick out of Michigan in 2008. At offensive tackle, he was an instant success, making the Pro Bowl 4 straight years along with an All-Pro selection. After dealing with injuries, Long moved around from the Rams, Falcons, Ravens, and Vikings, where injuries constantly followed him before retiring in 2017. The Raiders' last first overall pick was Jamarcus Russell out of LSU in 2007. Being known for his poor work ethic and outright laziness, Russell became known as one of the biggest draft busts in NFL history. In 3 years, he only had a little over 4,000 yards with 18 touchdowns, 23 interceptions, and a 7-18 record as a starter before being released. The San Francisco 49ers took Alex Smith with their #1 pick in 2005 out of Utah. Being taken over Aaron Rodgers, Smith with the Niners was very inconsistent, and his best years would come with the Chiefs instead. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler in Kansas City while making the playoffs in 4 out of the 5 seasons. After being replaced by Patrick Mahomes, a freak injury during his time in Washington almost ended his career for good, but he was able to return after 2 years to win Comeback Player of the Year and retire. Eli Manning was originally drafted by the San Diego Chargers first overall, but stated that he would refuse to play for them. This is how he was then traded to the New York Giants in exchange for Phillip Rivers. Eli's historic career featured 4 Pro Bowl selections with 2 great Super Bowl runs where he beat the New England Patriots twice for 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Despite his inconsistencies, he still threw for over 57,000 yards and 366 touchdowns. The Atlanta Falcons' last #1 pick was Michael Vick from Virginia Tech in 2001. The NFL leader in rushing yards by a quarterback and the first quarterback to ever rush for 1,000 yards in a season, Vick was way off to a good start while making 3 Pro Bowls and led them to the playoffs twice. Doing jail time caused him to miss 2 years, but he made a solid return with the Philadelphia Eagles where he won Comeback Player of the Year before dealing with injuries and bouncing around to the Jets and Steelers as well. The New York Jets' last #1 pick was Keyshawn Johnson in 1996 out of USC. The last receiver to go first overall, Johnson carved out a solid career for himself, becoming a 3-time Pro Bowler and also winning the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. Having 4 1,000-yard seasons, Johnson also spent time with the Cowboys and Panthers before retiring in 2006. The New England Patriots' last #1 overall pick was Drew Bledsoe in 1993 from Washington State. You may know him as the guy Tom Brady replaced, but he was the face of the Patriots franchise all throughout the 90s. A 3-time Pro Bowler in New England, Bledsoe even led them to a Super Bowl in 1996. After being replaced by Brady, Bledsoe moved on to Buffalo and Dallas before retiring. The Cowboys' last #1 pick was Russell Maryland in 1991 out of Miami. At defensive tackle, Maryland won 3 Super Bowls in Dallas while also getting 1 Pro Bowl selection. He then moved on to play for the Oakland Raiders and Green Bay Packers. The Buffalo Bills' last #1 overall pick was Bruce Smith from Virginia Tech in 1985. A 2-time All-American, Smith went on to become the all-time sack leader in the NFL with 200 sacks, 11 Pro Bowls, 8 All-Pros, and playing in 4 Super Bowls will also get him into the Hall of Fame as well. The New Orleans Saints' last #1 overall pick was running back George Rogers from South Carolina in 1981. In a 7-year career, Rogers was a 2-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro, and Rookie of the Year while rushing for over 1,600 yards in his first season. He also played for the Washington Redskins, where he'd win a Super Bowl before retiring in 1987. The Tennessee Titans' last first overall pick was running back Earl Campbell out of Texas in 1978. Campbell opened up his career leading the league in rushing for 3 straight years, along with being a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, and eventually an MVP. He also spent some time in New Orleans before walking away at age 30. The Steelers' last #1 overall pick was quarterback Terry Bradshaw in 1970 from Louisiana Tech. Bradshaw played 14 seasons in Pittsburgh, leading them to 4 Super Bowl wins along with numerous other Hall of Fame players. He was also a 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, and League MVP in 1978. The Minnesota Vikings' last #1 pick was offensive tackle Ron Yary in 1968 out of USC. Yary was the first ever offensive lineman to be taken first overall, and he didn't disappoint. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, and played in multiple Super Bowls with the Vikings. Yeri also spent some time with the Rams as well. The New York Giants' last number 1 overall pick was running back Tucker Frederickson from Auburn in 1965. Frederickson spent 7 seasons with the Giants, playing both running back and fullback while having 1 Pro Bowl selection. Washington's last first overall pick was Ernie Davis in 1962 out of Syracuse. The first black player to win the Heisman, Davis was immediately traded to the Cleveland Browns, but he never actually played it down in the NFL, unfortunately. He would pass away from leukemia at age 23. The Green Bay Packers' last first overall pick was quarterback Randy Duncan from Iowa in 1959. Duncan would only ever play in just 2 NFL games. He spent more time in the Canadian Football League and also played for the AFL in his very short career. The Philadelphia Eagles' last number 1 pick was Chuck Bednarik in 1949 out of Pennsylvania. An 8-time Pro Bowler and 6-time All-Pro, Chuck would actually play on both sides of the ball, playing linebacker on defense and center on offense, one of the very last players to ever do so. And while being an NFL champion twice, Bednarik was also known for hitting a player so hard that he ended up missing 2 seasons. The Chicago Bears' last first overall pick was Bob Fenimore from Oklahoma State in 1947. Bob would only go on to play just 10 games in his entire pro career. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked the video, like and comment what your favorite team's first overall pick was and if you knew any of these selections. And if you like me, subscribe.